Please help support the channel by visiting our Amazon store, affiliate link below. Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Matt Jarbo. This is 3 Buck Theater. Today is the 7th of September 2017. That just means in a few hours it will be dropping in theaters here in North America. The reviews are looking good. The reviews are sounding fantastic. And while reviews are meant to be taken with an outright grain of salt, it is still something to behold. This movie is one fans have wanted for a while, especially going through some of the development hell it went through at Warner's. But we actually, I think, as just fans of the property, fans of Stephen King and whatnot, have gotten probably the better end of the deal on this one. So it looks pretty fantastic. I'm hopefully going to be seeing it this weekend. If you guys plan on seeing it, let me know in the comments below. So there's that. I just want to touch on that. Also want to touch on something real quick. So this new format, guys seem to like it, which is fantastic. And I'm going to keep doing it. The thing is, though, Mundane Matt is my primary channel. That's where I earn my living. And I do want to build this channel up. I want to make this one day as big as that one because I just want to geek out on movies with you guys and have a lot of fun doing it. But I'm also in the process of running that 7 days a week, as well as prepping for the birth of my daughter in a few months, like less than 100 days. Funny thing with that, too. I told my girlfriend, I said, oh, we have 100 days till our daughter is born. And she's like, wow, you're really paying attention. I'm like, that's also 100 days until Star Wars comes out, which is how I know. So that got me in a bit of trouble, but the point is they're going to apparently conflict. So yeah, in the meantime on that, there could be some days where stuff doesn't get uploaded or I'm a bit behind on something. It's not to say that I'm not working on it. It's just I am busy and I'm trying to make it all work. But in the meantime, I'm working on a schedule that I can do for everything that will keep us in lockstep together and still having lots of fun. So please bear with me for that, and I greatly appreciate it. But with that out of the way, all that other stuff, let's talk about some cool movie news, right? Because this just dropped. According to Deadline, you've got Drew Goddard, who is the writer-director of Cabin in the Woods, a movie that, interestingly enough, just the other day was kind of panned as not redefining the horror genre, even though it was never intended to. It was basically satirize the horror genre. And I also wrote, The Martian, great movie. He wrote Cloverfield, great movie. And he's a very prolific writer in his own right, and he's always kind of bounced around from project to project in terms of comic books, but we'll see if this actually holds, because it was just announced that he will be writing and directing the X-Force movie for 20th Century Fox. That's right. Deadpool, Cable, and Domino are going to be teaming up for their own version of the Suicide Squad at Fox, and he will be helming it. Now, if you don't know his previous setup to kind of an expanded universe situation, Goddard was brought in to be the writer and director of the Sinister Six for Sony a couple years ago. One of the reasons why in Amazing Spider-Man 2 they really pushed for that connection to the large universe. But he ended up leaving that project and then going over to work on Marvel's Daredevil, which ended up falling apart for him after he left the show. But his influence, his work was still very much felt in the first season. And here he's now over with 20th Century Fox. Hopefully he'll actually be able to get this project off the ground. And the reason why I say that is because there's been rumors about him not being the easiest to work with, and that could come into play too. But if you aren't too familiar with what the X-Force is, essentially it's a dark version of the X-Men. Instead of fighting in the public eye to win mutants' respect from regular humans, they tend to embark on darker, more violent, sometimes morally questionable missions to protect mutant kind from the threats the X-Men can't handle. The group has a rotating roster of members in the comics, but the film version is expected to feature Ryan Reynolds, Josh Brolin, and Zazie Beetz as Domino. Because, let's face it, they want to make Deadpool the key of the franchise. With Logan out of the way, with Hugh Jackman no longer playing the character, Ryan Reynolds will have carte blanche to do whatever movie he wants with the Deadpool character, and probably maintain playing Wade Wilson for about as long as Hugh Jackman played Wolverine. And that's fine. That is fine. Deadpool made nearly $1 billion, well, close enough to $1 billion, in theaters for a modest $50 million budget. The movie itself shouldn't exist for all intents and purposes, but it does, and it's amazing. And this new movie, we can only hope, will surpass on what we all love, or build off of what we all love with the first movie. But I also don't want Fox to pull the cart before the horse. These characters, their chemistry hasn't been tested with the audience yet. The producers and the filmmakers seem to think they're going to work, and I'm on board with that. I just don't want them to shoot themselves in the foot. You know what I mean? We've already had enough problems with the primary X-Men line with Fox, and we don't know if they're going to reboot it with Dark Phoenix or what's going to happen with that. You got New Mutants that's trying something new with more of like a survival horror type experience with the film, and then you've got this one basically giving Suicide Squad a run for its money, and the reason why is, well, because Suicide Squad made a lot of money last year, and so that kind of darker themed team up is something that fans are going to want to see, and especially if we get more Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, that is going to be the primary draw. So yeah, everyone at Fox involved with this is probably going to make a bunch of money when it finally hits the screen, who knows when. Okay, so quickly jumping over into the DCEU, there's been lots of comments over the course of the past couple weeks about what the hell is going on with the Joker movies. You've got the Joker origin film, reportedly directed by Todd Phillips and produced by Martin Scorsese, with a rumor of Leonardo DiCaprio playing a younger Joker, even though him and Jared Leto are roughly the same age. It makes literally no sense, and that's because that rumor was, I think, created by just another publication. More of a speculation that turned into this bigger thing, because that's kind of what tends to happen in these particular discussions. Fueled the flames of excitement, if you will. But then you hear that Gotham City Sirens is actually being reworked to be the Harley and Joker movie, and again, we don't quite know everything going on with that. But one person who's kind of in the middle of all this is Jared Leto, and he's kind of confused about what's going on. And this is what he actually says. He says, I'm a little confused, but yeah, there's a couple things happening in the DC world, and I loved the Joker. He's a great character, a really fun character to play. It's a big universe, and when you play the Joker, there's no ownership there. You have the honor of holding the baton for a little while and then passing it off. But there's other films in development, and I'm just excited to see what comes from them. Which tells me that while he's confirmed to play it in Suicide Squad 2 and the Joker and Harley movie, those would be maybe his 3 films out of maybe out of his contract. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. We'll have to wait and see what happens in regards to him playing that role a little bit longer versus passing the baton. But it is an idea there. It is an idea that he could, we could see multiple people take on the mantle of the Joker. I don't think that's going to work. I think Warner's might be maybe kind of like toggling with that idea right now, only because they want to maybe bring down Jared Leto's price for locking him to a larger contract, or they want to try to replace him. It seems here like he is not coming out and saying that he's being replaced, but he's excited to see what happens, whether or not he is, and that it also seems like he might be willing to just kind of move on from the role. And I know a lot of fans out there are like, he's the worst damn Joker ever. Like, I like the guy. I liked him, and I really want to see what happens next with his character, and I really want to see what happens next with Harley and the Joker. I love their dynamic in Suicide Squad, and I want to see more. And so I think we're going to get that, at least get that, and then go on from there to see, with the future of the character. But in the meantime, I think Jared Leto, a person who is kind of on the inside of this world, is as confused as the rest of us are on the outside, which leads me to believe that this certain situation with these types of comments about like what films are in development, so on and so forth, are done just to maybe kind of test fan and audience reaction to see what they're in for. If we heard that there's a new Joker coming down the pipeline, would people be more excited or would they be upset? And it might just be a bit of market research at this point that's going to help them decide what to do going forward. I don't know. I mean, that's just my speculation on this, but at this point, I feel like almost everything involving the DCEU is entirely up for grabs. Nothing feels set in stone. And given the fact that they want to take on Marvel, this is not the way to go about it. And it really does more to damage a person's faith in these franchises than it does to bolster it. Okay, and so segueing over into Suicide Squad 2 news, it broke yesterday that they finally found a damn director. We've been hearing rumors for months and months and months and months, whether it's going to be Mel Gibson or other people that are going to be helming Suicide Squad 2. And like, here's the thing, Mel Gibson is a person who I would have loved to have seen this, but if he's going to direct any comic book movie, it's probably going to be Iron Man 4, because that's what Robert Downey Jr. wants, and Disney is probably willing to give it to him because they like money and they want more Iron Man. And I think that's pretty much what's going to happen with that. At least I'm holding out hope. I'm holding out hope. But the new director of Suicide Squad 2 is actually Gavin O'Connor, who recently did The Accountant with Ben Affleck. Now, that's an interesting pairing, in my opinion, because The Accountant came out and did marginally well for the type of film that it is. And I've heard good things. I haven't seen it yet, but the trailer looked decent. It looked like it had some good directing. And Affleck is still, as far as we know, heavily involved in the DCEU, and they're also developing an Accountant 2 with, O'Connor and Affleck set to reprise both of their respective roles. So Warner's is nothing if not loyal. No, it's true. They're probably the most loyal studio out there at this point in time. If you work for them and you work well with them and you give them what they want, they will bend over backwards to give you what you want, even if it means a movie like Live by Night that Ben Affleck made that cost him $75 million and really bruised his ego after he had won for Argo. But in this particular case, we can see that, they're trying to, I think, reward that kind of loyalty by giving him Suicide Squad 2. And that's, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. David Ayer catches a lot of crap for Suicide Squad, but the dude only had 6 weeks to write the script. And that's not a lot of time. He blazed through a script. They rushed into production to get this movie out. And that's been one of the biggest problems with the DCEU thus far. And it comes up every time I bring the subject up, but it's true. They keep shooting themselves in the foot. Now, this movie apparently is also being fast-tracked. A term that should not be used in regards to anything in the DCEU until they establish a solid foothold for production schedules, get the right teams involved, and don't have these constantly conflicting rumors about what's coming out. Like, they need to get their shit in check, and they're just not there yet. But what we know is that O'Connor went to Warner's, he pitched them his idea, and they liked it, so he'll be doing that. The movie will probably get fast-tracked for a 2018 production and a 2019 release, which does make sense. It will come probably following Avengers 4, Spider-Man 2, and coming out before Wonder Woman 2, and whatever the hell else is coming out, But here's the thing to consider with Suicide Squad. Whether you like it or hate it, the movie made a lot of money. The movie made a lot of money, and that's undeniable. And it's even an Academy Award winner for costuming. So it's got legs in terms of that particular world of Hollywood. The sequel has nowhere to go but up, to be fair. As much as I enjoyed the first movie, the sequel can only build upon the bedrock that they laid. And they clearly wanted to showcase a relationship there between Deadshot and Harley Quinn. Margot Robbie and Will Smith had lots of chemistry together. You give us more of that. Give us more Jai Courtney as Captain Boomerang and bring back El Diablo. And I think we'll be in for a much better movie. Also make sure that the story and everything flows a lot better. So, and that would probably happen if Warner's doesn't screw it up by bringing in a conflicting editing team to really kind of throw off the feel of the movie in order to fit in a lot of top 40 soundtrack songs, which I'm not against. The soundtrack was actually really fantastic, but you could see that the movie was more edited around a soundtrack like that versus actually telling its story. So we'll have to wait and see what happens, but at least now we know the direction it's going. And if you liked The Accountant and if you liked what they did with that, then you can kind of see what's going to happen with Suicide Squad, and that should, make you pretty happy. All right, guys, time to talk about it. It's been a couple days. I've had time to process my thoughts on this one. Colin Trevorrow leaving episode 9. What the hell? Like, what the hell? If I was directing that movie, you would have to drag me kicking and screaming off of that project, to the point of where I might John Q. Lucasfilm. All right, if you've seen John Q, you know what I'm talking about. But no, apparently he he's flat out off the project. Now, according to Lucasfilm, in a very brief statement, they said, Lucasfilm and Colin Trevorrow have mutually chosen to part ways on Star Wars Episode 9. Colin has been a wonderful collaborator throughout the development process, but we have come to the conclusion that our visions for the project differ. We wish Colin the best and will be sharing more information about the film soon. And that's it. Those just couple sentences. But the one thing to focus on there is that the conclusion that our visions for the project differ. Now, this could be trying to figure out how to write out Carrie Fisher, which is probably the biggest roadblock there. How do you write out a main character who will have a big part in the next Star Wars movie? But keep in mind, they were supposed to focus a lot more on Leia going forward. and that just cannot happen unless they go back to some CGI tomfoolery like they did with Peter Cushing in Rogue One. And fans would not have it. And I'm pretty sure that's probably what happened here. It was definitely story elements that caused this to take place, and that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because because of like the fact that they've had 2 high-profile directing situations in the past 2.5 months. Go this way with, Chris Lord and Phil Miller leaving Han Solo, and then Colin Trevorrow leaving episode 9. It shows you that like either Kathleen Kennedy is not able to fully live up to her role as executive producer of the Star Wars franchise, unlike Kevin Feige, who very much is in control of everything and has been for quite some time. It makes me really question where Kathleen Kennedy is in all this. Now, I'm not against it. The Han Solo situation, I get it. If Phil Lord and Chris Miller were definitely trying to interject too much slapstick comedy into this movie, then I get why they were removed. But when it comes to Colin Trevorrow and and Star Wars, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. All right, look at what he did with Jurassic World. He essentially rebooted that franchise. He rebooted it, gave it, had other characters from the original come back in, was able to kind of give it a new life. And as a result of that, it was a, $1.5 billion movie. So I don't quite understand where the problem here lies. It has to be with Carrie Fisher. That's what my gut is telling me, that this whole thing revolves around that. There's also the notion that his vanity project, The Book of Henry, that came out and crashed and burned this summer, to pretty negative reviews. It wasn't that the movie didn't make money. It was that the reviews were just not good. And at the time, there's a lot of stipulation about whether or not that had an impact on his standing at Star Wars, which I don't know. He was already pretty balls deep into it at the time. They seemed to back him at the time. So I don't know if that was definitely going to be a problem or not. But looking at the situation as a whole, it's maybe it did. Maybe it did. I don't know yet. It's something to consider, though. It's like he had his movie. It's impossible that he had the movie fail. He got, he just internalized all that when it came to story discussions for how to fix episode 9. There was a communication breakdown, and that's where it went. So the question is now, who is going to take over directing episode 9? Some have said that Rian Johnson might come back. That's probably the best solution. I know John Campea suggested Jon Favreau. Favreau, I think, is busy right now. I'd like to see Neil Blomkamp. To be perfectly honest with you, I'd like to see Neil Blomkamp get in there. He got screwed out of Alien, so I think he'd like to go do a sci-fi thing. But then again, Blomkamp, if he's not writing his own script, and they have a writing team that hands him a script, I think we'll be in better case. Screw it. Give us Quentin Tarantino. No, I'm kidding. We would need some better people involved, some high adventure concept, this may sound kind of weird, but I'd even be willing to give Rennie Harlin a shot. I think Rennie Harlin, who was able to craft those kind of action adventure films, from like the 80s and 90s, might have a good shot. And I could just be completely out there right now, but I just keep thinking like Cutthroat Island, which I really liked, but I know a lot of people didn't. So I'll have to wait and see what they're saying with that. It just sucks that there's all this turmoil happening within Star Wars right now, and I'm hoping that eventually they get their shit figured out, because then fans will have, will not be questioning the direction. The last thing you want is for fans to start questioning the state of affairs. Look at what that's done for DC. Every time there's conflicting reports, or there's upsets with the production or whatever, it always does a lot to hurt fans' hopes for the future. Star Wars, with its revival, has got 2 films under its belt thus far. Both have been well received, and but both have also been critically panned for a multitude of reasons. The last thing you want is there to be a huge division amongst the fans in terms of what's happening behind the scenes, because that, again, sows the seeds of distrust, which doesn't benefit anyone. And finally today, guys, we're going to be talking a bit about Marvel and Star Wars and Disney and this decision of theirs to do their streaming app. So a few weeks ago, it came out that Disney was going to be leaving Netflix, taking all of its stuff and going home, minus the Marvel shows, because those have contracts with Netflix. Netflix finances them, and there's no way in hell Netflix is going to let them go. In fact, my just quick side note to that is watch Marvel or watch Netflix double down on these seasons, these series, and start making a whole hell of a lot more as a huge to Disney. That's what I feel is going to happen. But anyway, so Bob Iger did say today that all the Marvel and Star Wars stuff on Netflix was going to be leaving and going over to their own standalone app. Saying here, we've now decided we will put the Marvel and Star Wars movies on this app as well. And that's all he said about it. But that's all he really needed to say about it. It wasn't like a great deal here. Now, a lot of people out there are kind of mad about this because they don't want more streaming services added to the mix. I myself would question whether or not it would be worth it to spend the money on this particular service, which would probably start at around $9.99 a month and then eventually make its way to $14.99, because that's just what Disney does. They lure you in at a lower price and then eventually fuck you on the price gouging. Thanks a lot, Disneyland. But that's kind of how I feel about that, is like that might be a thing. But the other side of that too is how are investors going to feel? Well, believe it or not, Disney's investors actually didn't really respond too negatively. The stocks only went down about 4%. But Netflix investors, on the other hand, who you figure would have been, oh my God, about this, just went, no, didn't even matter. Their investors didn't even care. And the reason for that is Netflix is dominating everything, which is one of the reasons why I look at this particular app and I think to myself, you guys are just like, you're screwing it up simply because you don't know. Like you just don't know. Like this is prideful. I understand it's a business market. It's a business venture. I get that they don't want to pay Netflix or whatever. They don't want to deal with that. They want their own way to make money themselves, and they will, because people will probably get it. If all of their movies are on there, if everything is on there, if I can go and watch The Lion King, ultra high definition 4K remaster on that damn thing, then I probably will do it. Because I got a daughter on the way, as I've mentioned before, and so she'll probably want to watch Star Wars or watch, animated Disney films or whatever else, and so having them all right there. As a parent, yeah, okay, I can see that being a thing, but as a film goer, I don't want, or I should say as a cord cutter, I don't want multiple services that I don't need. So I'd have to basically pick and choose, and at this point, it would probably be Amazon. I love Amazon Instant, but I don't really watch a lot that's on there. Hulu would go second only because, it's Hulu and screw how they handle stuff. But yeah, that being said, I feel, Disney might be going up against an opponent it can't beat. Netflix is so heavily entrenched in everything right now. I feel like renegotiating their deals with Netflix would probably be a better choice or a better approach. But the fact that Netflix investors didn't freak out, prompting Netflix to go back to Disney with a better deal, shows you just how huge Netflix is and how they would be able to weather this storm, because the content they produce on their own is so amazing and beloved anyway. All right, gang, that wraps up this episode of 3 Buck Theater. My name is, of course, Matt Jarbo. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you guys want to, leave your comments below. Please thumbs up the video. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here and if you like this kind of stuff I have to say. Again, this will be coming out infrequently at first. I do hope to lock it down to a schedule pretty soon, because I love geeking out on movies. I love talking to you guys about it, and you guys are awesome, and I will talk to you later. Have yourself a great day. Peace out.